Okay, part B. What does the graph of x squared plus y squared over 9 plus z squared over 4 equals 1? What is that graph to be? What do you think? Yeah, and if you can't remember, just think of what the cross sections would have to look like. If you let x, y, or z be a constant, the appropriate constant, the cross sections, the traces would be ellipses, right? In fact, if you let x equal 0, so you let x equal 0, say that guy goes away, you can see that that's the equation of an ellipse in standard form. If you let y equal 0, you can see that x squared plus z squared over 4 equals 1 is the equation of an ellipse in standard form. If you let z equal 0, you can see that x squared plus y squared divided by 9 equals 1 is an ellipse in standard form. It's an ellipsoid. It's got to be. All three traces are ellipses. So it's that egg-shaped graph. This thing's going to be elongated the most in which direction? The y direction, right? So let's draw it that way. And I would probably rotate it if the 9, you know, and in fact, we can do that. I'll do that, since this will be too much like the one I drew originally, although it's going to look like the one I drew originally anyway. So I changed it. I made the x squared over 9. So now it's elongated in the x direction, right? And I often draw the x-axis coming, well, I don't draw it coming out of the screen, but it's the one that you have to imagine is coming out of the screen, right? But I don't like trying to draw the longest direction, the one that's coming out of the screen. So what am I going to do? Rotate it, right? So I just make the world fit how I think it should look, right? There's a T-shirt that says something about reality. What is it? Yeah, I reject your reality and substitute my own. And since I already showed you how to graph this freehand, I don't feel bad about using my little stencil tool. So the elongated direction, I'm going to draw it the same way I did before, except I have to remember, oh, it's going to be the x-axis that's in the plane of the screen. So this is going to look a little better than the first one I drew since I did the first one freehand. This is my, I guess it's my prime meridian that I drew first. Now, the guy in back, I want to make it dotted or dashed. And then I need to draw what? The equator. This is a really weird planet. Whoops. And then the guy in back gets dashed. So you could draw it freehand. Obviously, it won't look as good if you draw it freehand. Now, the center is going to be the origin, and we can go ahead and draw in our axes. I'll make the axes red. So the z-axis. And then I'll draw in what's going to turn out to be the negative y-axis sticking out in front. So I suppose I should make these parts in here dashed, although that'll be hard to do. Not enough space. Maybe if I just barely touch it there. This guy dashed a little bit. This guy dashed a little bit. There you go. Okay. Now, again, the orientation, this guy is positive x. To keep it the right hand, the positive y has to be the one going into the screen, right? Positive z. And then if you want to put some information about it, I think for ellipsoids, that's what this is, right? It's an ellipsoid. On the test, you're going to need to be able to write down what it is. So write down ellipsoid. So I think it makes sense for ellipsoids to just identify the intercepts of the traces. Yeah, that would tell who's ever reading it you know what you're doing. So okay, so let's just do a couple of these because I don't want to bore you quite to death here. What would this point be? Gotta be 3, right? So you can look at it a couple different ways, but if you look straight down on it, really you're looking at when z is equal to 0, right? So that guy goes away. So the equator would be x squared over 9 plus y squared equals 1. And to graph that, you would go left and right from the center on the x-axis, 3. So does everybody see that this has to be, what would the coordinates be? 3, 0, 0. So 3, 0, 0. So this one will be a little bit tricky. How about, can everybody see that? This point right here? Got to be careful on that one. It's the one kind of out of the screen. So what's the denominator on the y squared? 1. So, but what axis is that coming out of the screen? It's the negative y-axis, right? So what's the y-coordinate there have to be? Negative square root of 1 is 1. So negative 1, green, negative 1 would be the y-coordinate. What would be the x-coordinate? 0, and then the z-coordinate? 0. So there's a couple of them. You should be able to do it for all of them, though, right? Just by how you graph an ellipse, because you're just looking at the intercepts on the traces, which are all ellipses. Does that seem reasonable? All right.